Welcome, and it's beautiful to see you all here wanting to know more about one of the most beautiful islands, the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Meru Island. Today's goal on this island, with spectacular views of palm trees and pristine beaches, is to find a locally made, memorable object to bring back to Limonada. What are you making?
A lift, a 5-inch lift for my windlass. So basically just a 5-inch block of sealed wood, which turned out to be more challenging than I thought it would be. But yeah, it's pretty much done. It's not the prettiest thing I've ever made, but it's gonna just sit underneath the windlass, so you're not gonna see much of it.
One of the things I had in mind to potentially look for is called Under the Table. It's a locally made rum. It's a homemade rum, and that's why it's called Under the Table, because they cannot sell it in the shops. So that's one of the things I had in mind, to see if we can find a bottle of that. Besides that, if you have any ideas now or in the future, write them in the comments. If I'm going to pick your idea in one of the future videos, I'm going to do a shout out to you. Meru Island is the smallest inhabited island of the Grenadines, with a population of less than 300. And to my surprise, there are almost more bars than people on this island. Here's a beer bar. It's off season now, so most things are closed. Let's see what's more on the beach road. Another closed bar. Fisher boats. There's one more bar here on the corner. Dennis Hideaway, a bar mentioned in the travel guide, also closed sadly. Could you imagine living on an island that basically is one big hill? Always if you walk somewhere, you'll be walking up or down, never straight unless you're at the bottom. The only way to get fresh water is by catching rainwater. If you would be in your 20s and you were looking for a life partner, I guess if there are less than 300 people on the island, in your age range there might be 10% of the sexuality you're looking for, about 30 others. Most people on this island are either fishermen or supported by tourism. I guess that's why we see about 30 bars on a population of less than 300. If only locals would go, that would be 10 people per bar in the weekend. If the babies and children would join too. Speaking of children, after finishing their primary education, to continue a secondary education, they have to go to a bigger neighbor island. You might want to be a doctor or a veterinarian, a psychologist, a taxi driver, all of which might either not be on the island or one other person might already do that job. What would you do? Would you work as a fisherman or woman, or work in tourism? Or would you rather just pack your suitcase and get to a society where you have a bit more choices in life? I found a locally made rum. And, would you like to say it, or can I say it?
It's Kaki Lifter.
Kaki Lifter.
Yeah, the drink Kaki Lifter. Wow! And that rum make your girlfriend cannot sleep, hey my friend. You know? You see, you take one shot of this, the girls, wow, they're gonna ask themselves, yo, hey, I wonder if you're smoking or if you're real. So you see, when she in her bikinis, maybe you have to be strong in the mind, because if she are very beautiful, right here, it's gonna be standing, okay? So that's why we call it Kaki Lifter, because
Kaki Lifter.
Yeah, so it's very serious drink, man.
No, I can't wait to try it.
We call it lagwood.
Lagwood.
Yeah, lagwood, some nuts. So we have it, the wood and the nuts. The wood and the nuts together, you know, it's a big problem.
Hey, okay.
For the ladies with the wood and the rum, the lagwood and the rum, it's a big problem, okay?
This looks
so,
dangerous.
Let me see. So, we gotta say, we make some song with it too. We say,
make a song?
Hey, she like the big wood. Big wood. What she want? Big wood.
This seems like a very big glass to try.
Yeah.
You want to try it?
Like in once? Or just...
Take one beat, man, one shot alone and you're good to go. And then your friend's gonna see, okay, you know what's happened? Hey, he really have the Kaki Lifter right there, man. You see? Look This guy over here, I asked him yesterday, hey, you gonna have more? Look, he coming, look, he coming. And you see your lady is pregnant, eh? It's a pregnant lady. Whoa, whoa, whoa!
That's strong.
Be good, man, be good, strong.
They're taking it out of the big bottle and are making a small bottle for limonada, locally made St. Vincent and Grenadines rum. Today's treasure is locally made St. Vincent and Grenadines rum. If you have any other ideas for the future, let me know. Evan, you want to give it a try?
Yeah, let's try this. It smells nice. It's not that horrible. I'd now take a big shot of it. That'd probably not be a pleasant experience, but yeah, it's not bad.
Keith, you want to give it a try?
It's actually not bad.
What's it got in it? It looks like maybe some nuts and some coffee beans.
Some nutmeg, some cinnamon maybe. Hey guys.
Smells almost smells like a whiskey or like a.
It's very whiskey.
Yeah, it's not bad. I don't think it's bad at all.
It's 5 AM and I'm continuing to the north of the Grenadines, Bequia. See you next time. The weather has been extremely unstable the last 2 weeks. On a normal day, the air that surrounds us looks clear and normal. The last 2 weeks has been looking grayish and electric. Clouds go over fast and every hour weather can completely change. The trip to Bequia is 25 miles and should take about 6 hours. 2 hours into the trip, the weather suddenly fully changed and became horrible. It is nasty suddenly. The main sail came out of the track, so I can't use the main anymore. So it's only 14 miles. This is not fun. That was the end of the first squall. Here you are seeing the arrival of the second squall, which I didn't film because I had my hands full reefing the sails and steering the boat. Just dropped anchor in Bequia. That was one of the worst short trips I've done in a very long time. 2 squalls. That wasn't expected. If I would have known that before, I would have not gone out. Oh well, going into town, going to check out of the SVG, and then probably tomorrow further to Martinique. 5 of these things over here were out, and I was looking at my track, and it's broken halfway up there. My track is broken. Let me get my other camera and zoom in. Yeah, so I think I need a new track. I'm sure I can get one in Martinique. I still have to get to Martinique, but I cannot put the main fully up anymore. But I'm pretty sure I can still refit. I think it'll be fine. The last trip that I did, when I had to use the engine, I felt like it didn't have optimum power. Normally it's a bit stronger, and maybe it was because of the currents. I don't know. I had cleaned the propeller and I also had cleaned the bottom of the boat, but because tomorrow's trip is going to be 4 times as long and hopefully I don't have to use the engine, but who knows, I'm gonna go down and give the propeller an extra scrub. The mainsail is in the second reef. That is the furthest I can put it up. Luckily that still works. It's gonna be an overnighter, 100 miles. I'm always a little bit nervous when I have to do an overnighter. So should be nice weather. The plan is to go on the east side of St. Vincent, then continuing to the east side of St. Lucia, and then arriving tomorrow in Martinique. I would have loved to stay with the guys longer, but I'm going to fly home for a week from Martinique because flights are cheapest from Martinique. I'm flying home because I don't see my family a lot, I miss them and I want to spend more time together. Before my 30th birthday, I was once in my life on a sailboat when I was 7 years old. Here's a picture. My father took me to a dear friend of him on a sailboat in France. Just me and my father. My parents were separated already at that time, and some of the weekends I was with my father. Even though I don't remember too much of it, my father has often retold me the story how I absolutely loved it and how he absolutely hated it. Looking at that picture, it must have been like a Beneteau or a Jeannot 42 to 45 foot. I'm guessing, as it has 2 bedrooms at the back of the boat. He hated it because he didn't like the movement of a boat on the ocean and especially sleeping in such small quarters. I followed in the footsteps of my parents. They were quite successful horseback riders, and in my younger years I also became that. At youth championships I won quite a few medals at the time. Then I continued following in my parents' footsteps by studying economics and trying to succeed in economical jobs, wearing a suit most of the time, which I'm pretty sure is hard for many of you to imagine me in a suit in a business meeting. What the heck, here's also a picture of that. 6 years ago, when I tried out sailing for the first time, everything about sailing and about boat life was one big question mark for me. I grew up on a farm. We had horses and dogs, no boats. But I loved it. I loved the way a boat moves through the water, the ever-changing spectacular views and the feeling of always being able to go somewhere if you want to. Everything I learned about sailing, I learned after the age of 30, which makes it harder than when you learn anything from when you are a child. I am not a good sailor, nor do I pretend to be one. I am, I think, on my 10th overnight solo sail now. I know the basics of sailing, but I absolutely do not know how to perfectly trim a sail to get the most optimum speed out of the boat. What I do know is how to set the sail so that I am pretty decently moving forward. I know pretty well how to not fall off the boat, and these days I know pretty decently how to fix a boat. That ended up being a nicer ride as I expected. No squalls, thank God, no squalls. So I'm a little tired, I'm gonna catch up with that soon. Another 1.5, 2 hours to go. These solo overnight sails I personally find scary because of fighting exhaustion. Boat life generally starts early and ends early. Often I'm in bed at 9 p.m. and then I'm up again at 4 a.m. I get tired early in the evening. Because of that, on an overnight sail where I don't sleep if it is close to shore, like now, I am afraid of falling asleep and the boat going towards shore. It happened to a friend of mine, Jack, a Dutch guy who at the age of 80 solo sailed around the world. I met him in Cuba after his around the world trip. We had a couple of beers together and exchanged stories, and he showed me his boat, which was pretty much the same size as Limonada. When he left Cuba a few days later on the way to the States, he sailed out of the reef into the ocean, and then after setting course on his wind pilot, he accidentally fell asleep. Then the wind angle changed and his wind pilot steered the boat in the dark of the night on the reef, and that was the end. Luckily only the end of the boat and not of him. But man, that must have been scary. If you want to know what he's doing now, well, he found a similar boat in another part of the world, bought it and is preparing it to go back sailing again. It's my fear of dying which gives me most of my anxiety for doing things like these overnight sails. But I also feel like I have one shot at life, and if I don't try to live it to the fullest, if I don't at least try to live it to the fullest, whatever that means to me right now in this moment. Even though I have one of the smallest boats I've seen in the past year of people cruising around in the Caribbean, Even though there is zero luxury on my boat, like a shower or a bed where I can decently stretch my legs, and even though I cannot afford to go out for dinner most of the time, I am living the life I want to live, and I think I'd be a lot more stressed if I wouldn't at least try to live the life I want to live. Let's go to town now to figure out how to check into the country. Check-in was super easy and only €5. Okay, I'm going back to the boat and then have a nice little rest break.